Frank the cat got a notification. Stevie boy, how you doing? That's interesting. I was live there for a minute before anyone got on it. That's interesting. Hi Scopes. Nick on FX, evening from Inverness. I'm not far from you in Inverness, I'm half an hour away. So, how you doing, Steve? Official topic talk. Something interesting, guys. So all these videos, right, they're like monetized videos, but I looked at the analytics, they earn like 50 pence or if you're lucky. But YouTube's turning them all off. They're going back and turning all my videos off. It's really interesting. They must not like the subject matter. That must be it. There's a nice wee slate after last night. Pink Floyd, Trust Us. The Hammers. It was just lying over there. There's another one, but it's broke. It must have fell. And there's one for the old Tunnocks tea cakes. Don't know why I done that. I like a Tunnocks tea cake, but I actually prefer a caramel log. Anyway, lo and behold, it's all coming out in the wash about a certain TV producer that I named last night. So, I said a while back on my own Facebook that's currently turned off that he had paid off the young man that was involved in the case. We're talking about Philip Schofield. Now it transpires that he did. He initially denied it, his people denied it, those around him denied it. He did pay him off, he paid off Matthew McGreevy for his silence, so they agreed a financial resolution. Now, if you're innocent and you've just had an innocent relationship and there's nothing to worry about, why would you have to spend a six-figure sum purchasing the silence of the other party? Right, don't want to bore you all with the what's and the whys of it. My point being this, right? There are several articles, they're kind of floating around the internet where people are very subtly trying to reintroduce Philip Schofield into the television world, like Barrymore. They're subtly trying to reintroduce Schofield into a role. They're trying to find him a suitable role in television where he will blend back into the fold. You know, another multiple £1 million position where he'll be treated like royalty. Folk, you know, it's really sickening, but they walk in eggshells round about this guy. Like a lot of some of the Scottish presenters, you know, they're treated like as if they're made of some form of gold, you know. It's really disturbing, right? It's really disturbing. What about all the young people that come into television and they do their studies and stuff, right? And they've got clean sheets and clean slates. Would it not be more productive to bring the young people, the fresh people in that have worked hard to get there and stuff, and give them a bite at the big earnings, give them a bite at the cherry? I mean, every channel you used to put on it had Schofield on it, selling cars, doing this, doing that, insurances, everything. It's sickening. And now it's the same way with Alison Hammond, whoever she is. I don't watch television, guys, and I shouldn't know who this woman is. But she appears quite sickening as well. And they're basically force feeding her to the public now. You know, she's the saviour, the golden girl. Now they're bringing Cat Daly out of retirement to sit on one of these Good Morning programmes it's sickening. I mean, have these people not got enough money that they can disappear and give us all peace? I don't even watch telly and it's annoying me. It doesn't even add up, doesn't make sense. It shouldn't be annoying me, but it does. Because no one gets a fair bite of the cherry. These people have got everything. They're on every channel. Like those two Geordies, you know, that Ant and Dec, a couple of charlatans, those two are. They're in every channel and they get these stupid generic awards every year where they act as if they're so shocked that they get it, and the National Television Awards, and they've had it for like 16 years in the trot, and it's basically the written script is that no one else can get it. It's theirs. It's so sickening. I can't be bothered with these dickheads. And if I walked past them in an airport, I wouldn't be like asking them for a photograph, because I couldn't care less. They're just normal people. We're all just normal people. We're not all just people. It's weird, isn't it? You put someone in a television presenter's job and they get the adulation of millions, but you put, a guy in a shop, or how does a nurse not get the adulation of millions of people? How does a fireman not get the adulation of millions of people? Why are we in this country so obsessed with television and these, disingenuous, creepy, tax dodging, unscrupulous multiple millionaires like Jimmy Carr, they float around in the atmosphere, surrounded by the cloak of invincibility, and they must truly think that they are on earth to be hero worshipped by us. I cannot get my head round the fascination with celebrities. I just don't understand it. I don't get it one bit. This television thing, presenters, music shows, dancing in ice shows, dancing in icebergs, dancing in whatever the hell it is they're dancing on. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I don't understand it. I can't get my head around it. And I spent my life watching David Attenborough. But he's now become so woke, and he's been so, overtaken by the wokery. He's now force feeding the schedule for the WEF, the climate schedule. He's force feeding it down our throats. and I'm not buying any of it. How you doing, David? Hope you're well, mate. Nice to see you on. I'm not buying any of it. So I no longer watch him, because he should have stuck to presenting. See, when they become puppets for the global elite and they force feed the narrative, this falsity, because they know that the public, right, that is an abuse of your position, okay? Now, a classic guy for doing it is one of the RSPB guys, Chris Packham, okay? He's got a massive platform in it, and he drums up a hell of a lot of funds for these superpower charities like the RSPB, majorly fraudulent charity. I've been a lifelong bird watcher. I'm a self-proclaimed Twitcher, if you want to call me that. I absolutely adore all things avian. It's been a lifelong obsession of mine, and I despise the charity that are in place to protect all things avian. I think they're a ridiculously corrupt organisation. Similar par with the RSPCA. They do nothing for canines, or any other pets. They just don't. All they do is serve themselves and extract millions of pounds on the heartstrings of the British public and pay themselves exuberant salaries. and they do nothing. Forget what you think they do. They don't. All you need to do is investigate them, and you'll very quickly realise how much bullying goes on with them to get your money from you. Charities should be abolished. We've got more charities in the UK than any other country in God's earth. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And we'll not even mention military charities and how they dupe the public. All your crap like Help for Heroes, they're just absolute proven fraudsters, all of them. So the newspapers and all the platforms, they're all very subtly now, Schofield's now getting slotted in and he's getting mentioned and he's getting, this is what they do, right? It's like a psyop, it's Machiavellian. They kind of come at you with all these different angles and they basically come at you, and it's subtle at beginning, but it builds up. The momentum's now building to get them back into the fold. Now that suggests to me that the idiots that orchestrate television, these sinister, extremely wealthy people that we don't really get to know about in the public domain, like the editors of these big corporations, the top people, the top execs that are all in bed together and cover up for people like Jimmy Savile and Philip Schofield, and Michael Barrymore and dozens of other creeps. They basically get onto the media because it's all first name terms, and they start the subliminality, right? The subliminal messaging. They drop his name everywhere, he gets name dropped, and then they build and they build and they build and they build, okay? And before you know it, they've normalised Philip Schofield's name again, and then he's back on your television and he's fallen over himself to be nice and friendly and come across as a good guy, and he's all apologetic. He's got his knees together, all his hands crossed. See any guy that sits with his knees together right on a couch, they're worth the watching, and that's just definitely worth the watching. It's a weird way to sit, and he's a weird guy anyway because he's been too creepily nice for too long. Very creepy, all preened and all proper. And when he slipped up, when he googled a few names off the internet and handed them to David Cameron and suggested it was a list of known paedophiles, he dropped himself right in it, and he ran for the hills at that point, and it was like, oh no, I've messed up here. But they dug him out a hole. They really dug him out a hole, and he used his position to have a young guy that idolised him, right? It's fine to, worship people when you're young and you're easily influenced, and he brought him into the fold, started bringing him on the programmes and stuff, and that's, in my amateur experience, that's the beginning of the grooming process. So he started with it then, and the friendship grew and doors were opened and all the rest of it, and then it became something that it shouldn't have been. He murkied the waters, and he basically used his position and his private capacity and his, the specialist, secretive, delicate handling that he is allowed and afforded on these TV programmes. He's treated like royalty, and he then had that young guy in his private capacity, in his private suite and stuff like that, and things occurred. There was intimacy, okay, and you're talking about a man here that was a seriously good age, basically knew it was on the agenda and allowed it to develop. and then had the audacity to try and lie to the British public and say, but he waited till he was legal. But he had sex in his mind with a minor. I don't care what anybody says. He had his mind on a minor. Somebody's asking me in the comments about my opinion of Andrew Tate. We'll do a video on that another night. So he basically constructed, you know, he developed it, and he constructed and he fabricated what he wanted to occur, and then he took what he wanted, and then when the young guy became desperate and he became a little bit older, and it wasn't going his way, and perhaps Schofield decided to drop him or cut him loose, or, you know, nip it in the bud because he was scared about getting found out. McGreevy turns up at the National Television Awards and basically demands to see him in Willoughby. You know, he's talentless sidekick is running around drunk, and they're all basically trying to calm him down and stuff. But there is a big scene recorded, and this is when Schofield knew that he had to come out and tell the British public that, well, you know, I'm gay and all the rest of it. Who cares if he's gay, right? That's not a crime. But it's also not to see this applauding it, and, you know, applause in the British public. Oh, you're such an amazing person. Well, not really. He's lived with his poor wife for all these years, and then, you know, so if he must have always known. So why not just come out? Why not just not live with your wife? It's ridiculous, the applause he got, people falling over to commend him. It was all very sickening, all right? You know, it is what it is. If you're gay, you're gay. Who cares? I've got mates that are gay. I couldn't care less. Good luck to them. As long as they're happy, that's all that matters. Nobody's running about having to clap for people. No normal person that is coming out expects applause and all the rest of it. You know, it's like, why are we applauding you? You've actually deceived your fan base for decades and deceived your family, and you want us all to applaud you. And he was all, imagine getting like Willoughby, you know, who's an absolute scumbag, seriously devious woman, you know, money obsessed, fame obsessed nutcase, to do the firing the bullets for you and do the speaking for you because he's that much of a coward. He couldn't just like say, I'm gay. You know, who cares? Who cares if you're gay, Philip? That's not my problem. My problem is you're not just gay, right? Your sexuality is irrelevant. The problem is you decided to groom a minor that was entrusted in your care because he was desperate. He got on television and he idolised you and he hero worshipped you, and you were a very famous person, and you basically clouded and murkied those waters, and that's not right. That is where the criminality and the, you know, the inappropriate stuff is just flagged up. And we're the public, we're your audience, so our opinions must be valid. No one has to agree with them, you know, and no one has to agree with mine or listen. I'm just on here talking about it. I just think that he's a man that groomed a young guy, and as a result of that, I don't believe that he's got any capacity to come back on television, because I believe that he's in breach of the position of trust that he was placed in. And I believe when you're an apex presenter, you know, the top of your game on the British broadcasting channels, publicly funded salary, huge salary, you are in a position where you should be nowhere near grooming young men, young impressionable men that you have brought into the fold. You can never be trusted again, but you breached the position of trust you were in, so why should he be allowed back? He should never be allowed back, okay? You should never be allowed back. See all this, oh, people deserve a second chance. Why? Why do they? It's not like, you know, it's not like it's something way less sinister. It's very sinister because of the lengths that he's gone to cover it up. Non-disclosure agreements, you know, cover-ups, payoffs, silence agreements, huge amounts of money changing hands, paying him loss of earnings, paying him loss of salary, paying him for his silence. That's bribing. Okay, in any other walk of life, that's called a bribe. It's a financial incentive for your silence. That is a bribe in the corporate world. Schofield exists in the corporate world. Therefore, it's malfeasance in his positions. He's broke every rule in the book. But these scumbags are going to normalise it, and they're going to put him back on television, and they're going to force him down our throats again. He'll not be down my throat. I don't have a telly, and I would put my foot through a telly if I saw him on it, because he actually makes me feel physically sick. He's an absolute creep, and I don't care if he's got 2 daughters, you know, God love them, they don't deserve it, but he is one creepy, sinister, horrible, vile little man. That's what he is. He's not a man. There's nothing manly about him. He's a little creep, horrible guy. Can't stand him. Can't stand him. He makes me sick because of the lengths he's got to. Guys, I can tolerate anything when it comes to, we all make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, right? And people make choices and they get things wrong. I've made plenty of mistakes in my life. But the thing is, he's paying and using every trick in the book to cover up his seedy perversions and all the rest of it, and what he's into. And he's got a very dark history with this stuff. Now, his brother is a convicted nonce, okay? Convicted in a court. Schofield knew all about it, did nothing. Why is that not a major talking point? His brother confided in him that he was viewing extreme child pornography and that he'd been involved in all sorts of deviancy online, and that he was a risk to children. Schofield gave him a pass. He never reported them. I know something about somebody, they're getting lit up or they're getting, the reports getting made. There is no such thing as grassing when it comes to sex offenders. No such thing as grassing, right? You're not shopping somebody for, you know, fiddling their benefits or whatever. Schofield's brother was protected by Schofield because Schofield knew what the outcome would be. Oh, I don't want a bad name, we better cover this up. So did nothing. His brother was basically, by doing nothing, you're an enabler. It's enablest behaviour, because how can you know about that and not act and not respond to it? Unfortunately, if even one of my close mates, if I got the wind that that was their game, you know, the game's up. I'm blowing them right off the map. And it would, and of course it would be a difficult time because it's your mate and, you know, it's somebody you've trusted, but at the end of the day is, that behaviour is not tolerable under any circumstances. So you can't give it a pass. It has to be called out, it has to be addressed, and Schofield done nothing. Which tells me that, I'm not saying that he's the same as his brother, however there are similarities, and it seems to be a behaviour within reason that exists, you know, within that brotherhood. They both have devious tendencies and they both have bizarre sexual, appetites, and they're both prepared to blur the lines, one way more than the other, by all accounts. However, we don't really know the depth of Schofield. Nothing will ever surprise me. Nothing. Because I can only know me. For every guy I know and I'll go, he's a good guy, I can only ever know me. So I can only truly, on this God's earth, vouch for me, right? And you hope that you can vouch for your own dad, you hope you can vouch for your own sons, you hope you can, but truly, in reality, I can only vouch for my own mind. And I know that I've got a level of hatred for these people that is beyond normal. I probably feed into my hatred and I develop it. I do hate them so much, I despise them. I truly despise them. That's why I do what I do. David Milne's asking if he thinks there's a genetic side involved. There are peer-reviewed reports out there and this kind of stuff, and it is a train of thought with some specialists. There are cases globally with families that 4 or 5 brothers, families were all into it. They were incestuous, but a lot of that can be down to the fact that they're like mentally underdeveloped and they're mentally, they have like a retarded brain development and stuff, and they've got a lot of things that they don't understand. That's way different from what we're talking about, and not every family that suffers incestuous deformities and stuff are involved in sexually incestuous stuff. It's just really unfortunate. Some of these families out in like Appalachia and places like that, extremely remote locations, that occurs. But the inclination to groom young men and not maybe drop below the ages of, say, 13, 14, somehow justifying that, 14 because he's tall and handsome and looks like a man, then he must be a man, therefore, he's on the menu. Well, I don't really give a fuck about that opinion, because it absolutely, it literally infuriates me. I get so angry when men groom young men. I mean, it's bad enough that they're grooming any child, right? But see, when men are exploiting young men to facilitate child meets and stuff, they get an extra special dose of reaction from me. Maybe because I am a man, maybe because I know what men are capable of doing, maybe because, it's a lot more personal. It's strange, right? Because I've got a certain feeling of hatred for them when they're like grooming young girls, okay, like 9, 10, 12-year-old girls, children. And it makes me it makes me angry in a certain way, but I can feel the difference in the anger when it's a man grooming a young boy for a facilitator meet and trying to, have sex with a young, impressionable, vulnerable 12-year-old boy. My anger's completely different because I feel it so understanding. I know what it feels like. It triggers me so much more towards violence. Don't mind admitting that, because it's always bad enough that an adult man is grooming a child. It's always bad enough, but it seems to be a lot more sick, devious when it's a man doing it to a young boy. I don't know why I feel like that. I suppose it's just a natural response, That's why I don't ever want to see that scumbag on television again, sitting there acting like a normal guy, like a normal member of society. He's got no right to be back in the public domain. None at all. Massive breach of trust. That's like me taking young guys up the mountains or something, right, and abusing that position of trust. It happens time and time again, and I don't believe there's any way back. You breach trust one time with young people, and you know, minors in particularly, in any way at all, then there has to be a question mark above you forever. And I don't think there's any way back. It's inexplicable. You can't explain it away. It can't be put down to a, you know, a slip or a little error of judgment. The level of deviousness involved with Schofield and the cover-up is where I judge the man. That's where I judge the man. It wasn't a one-off. It was a very prolonged process of grooming, and he trained him up with the secrecy and all that from being a young guy. You know, what happens between me and you stays with us, it's our secret. You know, I'll make sure you go far in television, but it's got to be a special friendship and all that. I can imagine all the shit that he told him, and I just hope that he never gets back in television. And that's how I feel about it. They all make me sick. All of these television execs, all these producers, they all make me sick with their woke, disgusting, sinister, selfish and self-indulgent behaviour, all of them. Black Lines is saying, what's so special about Schofield? Do you think he's good dirt on people? A huge portion of television are old people retired at home watching daytime crap, and old people are really hard to convince. You know, all those old biddies that love him won't believe a word of it, that he's a sinister pig. And that's no slighting them, you know, they're just old and they're easily conditioned, and they've been indoctrinated into that way of thinking for decades. You know, all these people that are still paying their TV licences, knowing fine well that that licence funded Jimmy Savile and Gary Glitter and all the other nonsense together, all of them, you know. So, the whole thing, you know, television, I would love to see it scrapped. I just think that there's no need for it in the modern world. All it is a stocking filler. It's a time consumer. It's the diluter of the masses, you know. It just dilutes your head, and I can't believe the time people invest in it on a daily basis. I find it truly astonishing. No wonder we're where we are as a nation. No wonder we are floundering, and our general knowledge and our overall intelligence is probably at a historic low, because we're so polluted with the crap that comes out of these boxes, you know. That's my feelings on it, and I'm not bothered if it maybe rubs somebody up the wrong way and you think I'm being a bit of an arse, you know. I'm not having a personal go at anybody. I'm just saying that, I don't know, I find life so much more interesting. There's so much more to do and see, and I just don't want to sit vegetating in front of them for hours. I just don't want to be that person. But more than that, you know, I like a good film, but I've not watched a film for a while. I like a film, and I remember all my favourite films, but I don't want to be in support of them. I don't want to be in support of people like him, you know, by being involved with watching television and supporting these stupid award ceremonies where they gratify one another and they fall over one another, and it's like sickening, you know. It's sickening because of the level of self-entitlement that they have, you know. I just find them all really sinister. I find a lot of people, a lot of actors, a lot of Hollywood, I think there's some real dodgy stuff going on. And I also think that it's very telling how these people migrate their careers. They position themselves where they need to be. And it's funny that, you know, Schofield was always around about children and children's television and presenting to minors. So was Jimmy Savile, so was Gary Glitter. They, you know, historically, Barrymore, all his shows, he had kids on his shows talking and allowing them to, you know, make quite explicit jokes and sometimes with sexual undertones and laughing and joking. I know television was a lot less restricted then, but what did they find so amusing about it? When I hear a kid talking like that, I clam up. It makes me sick. I clam up and it makes me like look at it and go, you know, if I hear a kid talking like that, I want to see who his dad is, you know. And they encourage that behaviour in these television channels, and the editors and the producers encouraged it, and all that stupid act that Barrymore used to do, you know, fumbling his walk and silly words and oh aye and all that kid on crap. You know, somebody should have just put the nut in him a long time ago, because that's about all he would be good for. Some people loved him. I don't. I think he's a creep. And I thought that long before a man, you know, died in his swimming pool. I always thought he was a creep. Always. Always suspect of him. And always suspect of Schofield. Even 20 odd year ago I was saying, when's it going to come out about you? 20 odd year ago, honestly, my pals will tell you that I was like, one of these days your house is going to come falling down because you must be up to all sorts. To me it was ripping out him. You know, it's a Glasgow term. It was ripping out him what he was. I don't like, you know, I don't like crude homophobic terms like, you know, I don't know, people say ridiculous terms, don't they? Shoplifters, stuff like that. I'm not into that, it's just fucking ridiculous. You know, because they actually draw the wrong type of attention to anyone that's homosexual, because they get branded a certain way, which is not right. It's not acceptable to do that. Because one guy's a creep doesn't mean to say the next guy is. It's ridiculous. But we know that it happens. And no, I'm not into that at all. I wouldn't condone that in any way. You know, he's a lot more sinister than, this is way beyond someone's sexuality, way beyond. This is a thing in somebody's head. This is a sickness. Of all the people, of all the men out there, somebody like Schofield with his wealth and his fame could have had. There's loads of gay men in television and the celebrity world, you know, eligible gay bachelors, loads of them, loads of men, handsome men. He chooses a boy. That tells you everything you need to know. I'm sorry, but it does. This is last night's tea, still warm. It's the best flask I've ever bought. It's a thermos. Look, still warm, still steam coming off it. It's not roasting, but it's drinkable. Brilliant. 24 hours. So, you know, I know what's coming next. It's, you know, it's the subliminality. It's all little. We'll drop them in every couple of days, and then we'll ramp it up, and then we'll get them a couple of guest slots. We'll get them on, you know, one of the daytime talk shows, and we'll get them a little slot here, a little 5 minutes, and we'll see what the response is. And then when we see the response, we'll take it from there, because the public will tell us which direction we need to take them in, and we'll find them something great, and they'll try and turn them into the next, you you know, like Paul O'Grady, for instance, the guy that did Battersea Dog Homes. You know, I thought he was an alright kind of bloke. I quite liked him. You know, I thought he was quite genuine. For any clips I seen of him on like maybe TikTok or Instagram or Facebook, you'd see. I'm alright with anybody that loves dogs, so I'm alright with anybody. I know sometimes people fake it, but he wasn't faking it. O'Grady just loved dogs. You could just tell. I'm a dog lover. I love canines, you know, way more than any other kind of pet. I absolutely love dogs, and I thought he was sound. You know, I thought he was an alright guy. Lived his life, private guy, but you know, he was trying to promote a good thing. I think they're going to try and turn Schofield into him. I think they're going to try and make him the next Paul O'Grady. You know, make him play on the heartstrings of the public to convince them he's a good guy. Get him into like Battersea Dog Home, you know, look, this new dog programme that they had Hammond lined up for, ridiculous. She probably couldn't name 2 breeds of dog. But that's a great way to trick the public, you know, play on their heartstrings, involve animals, because it's like, you know, little cuddly pups. Who doesn't like these things? I see it. I see beyond the script. They're not fooling me. So I don't want to see him being, you know, tarnishing somebody like Paul O'Grady's name. I don't really know much about Paul O'Grady other than the Battersea Dog Home stuff. But I know that he was genuine. I know that much. I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty safe to say that he genuinely loved his animals, you know. So, and I could like, if I had to go and watch a show with Paul O'Grady, I'm pretty sure I could have sat there and enjoyed the guy, you know. I think he was quite a funny guy as well. He had quite a good way about him, you know, quite a good speaker and stuff. And obviously an intelligent, articulate kind of fella. But Schofield's not a patch in that. He's nowhere near it, and you can't fabricate it and you can't fake it, because some of us are way ahead of the curve when it comes to sussing that crap out. And I would call it out immediately, because it's like, nah, stop bluffing, you know. OG's saying that he thinks he would be daft to go mainstream again. You need to remember, OG, these people have got exuberant lifestyles and they are used to pulling in 2-3 million a year. That's a lot to give up, mate. You know, another 7, 8, 10 years in television, it's another 20, 30, 40 million quid. These people are like hung up greedy. They're not going to walk away from that. No way. They're not going to be part of that. They're just not going to do it. They're not going to give up the ability to earn fortunes. No way. Greed is a huge part of it, and that draw, that, you know, bearing in mind he's been in the public eye for 30 years, longer, 40 years. So they need it. It's like a drug, because they've elevated themselves that I am super famous. The British public need me on their daily television because they need me as part of their lives. These people actually convince themselves that we need them, and that we can't live without them. That's how obtuse their mindsets are. That's how ridiculous their lives are. You know, it's horror show stuff, OG. It's sickening, man. It's sickening. And I just think that we have to address it all, and we have to call it all out. All forms of sinister behaviour has to be addressed and called out. You know, children, young impressionable adults, young vulnerable teenagers need protecting, both lawfully and morally, by adults, us men. women, but more so men need to up the ante a little bit and start calling it out. There's not enough men standing up to this problem, and I see that on a daily basis. You know, where are all the men when young British females are getting groomed in communities by organised gangs? Where are all the men? What are they all doing? I'll tell you what they're doing. They're sitting watching football, and they're sitting watching talk sport, and sitting watching, the football results, and they're not caring until it chaps at their door and it's their daughter, and then it's too late. And that might annoy some guys, and I know that I generalised in football fans there, but it is the biggest spectator sport in the UK, and millions of people are glued to it on a weekly basis. And until these problems come and chap your door, then it's very easy to look the other way and not get involved. And I'm sorry, but I'm up to my neck in it, and I know the scale of the problem. I know the scale of the problem. It's ginormous. It is an epidemic proportion, and I'm sorry, but nobody's doing anything about it. No one goes out to the coalface and enters the lion's den. No one does it, and that's not how you handle a problem. That does sound extremely critical. I'm not having a go at folk that, a lot of people can't. They don't have the physicality. Some people just not cut out for it. But there's other things that people can do. They can share, and they can grow the platforms, and they can help us and share our platforms and share our word and share our videos and share our educational stuff that we provide for parents, because a lot of work goes into it, and some of the documents I've written, they're very time consuming. They're very, very time consuming, but I don't grudge 1 second of it, because it has to be done. It has to be spoken about, and it has to be highlighted. The dangers, the Roblox, Fortnite, Discord, all of the platforms that are so easy to exploit, and children are loading up on them, and they're on all of them, and they're here to stay. So education's going to be key moving forward. Education is going to be key, because catching up with them all in the physical sense and the way that we do isn't the most practical way to combat the problem. There's too many of them. We can't. I'm only one guy. We can't scratch the surface. I could do 10 a day if I had the means and the backup, and I still couldn't scratch the surface. That's how bad the problem is. So education's going to be at the forefront of this fight. Actually shocking, like maybe some clever editing, maybe getting parents, maybe shocking parents with some cleverly edited videos, hard-hitting, short 3 to 5 minute videos in volume, an abundance of them, 2 a night, boom, boom, start of the night, end of the night, whack, full frontal assault, right in the face, hit you in the feels and basically shock you into saying, holy shit, this is horrendous. And that's where I see it going. That's where I see the trajectory taking us, because the physical side of it is massively time consuming. And if you're up and down the length and breadth of the country, 6, 7, 8 hour drives each way, let's just call it a 24-hour day, because with the mobilisation to the whole thing to the return, it's a full day out of your life for multiple people involved. Because see, when you're on the road, the decoys don't sleep. The decoys are up, and they're keeping tabs on you. They want to know that you're safe. They want to know what's going on. there's chat going on, there's information getting pinged around, and it doesn't always go to plan, you know, so you have to develop your skill set as you go. There isn't a book, you know, no one trained anybody. This is all done by me. It's all taught by me, and it's developed by me, and it's my way. It's my way because I know it works, and I know that within my own capacity, I know what works for me, and I know how to handle the situation. I know where my strengths are. So there isn't a code, there isn't like a database you clock into and learn how to do it. You know, there are people in the community that I rely on for assistance and help with the tech side and stuff, and you know, the int gathering, but the intuitive physical stuff is all, it's just down to the individual. No one's teaching anyone, you just go and do it. But that, as I say, that's a massively time consuming enterprise, and you know, where I eventually want to get to is, I've said it before openly so that it can be time stamped against me and folk can, you know, call me out on it should I never ever succeed. I want to get in front of Parliament, I want to get in front of, you know, political leaders and challenge our absolute appalling record on, you know, child protection issues, and I want to know why we're not the most robust country in the world and why we're not setting the standard. That's what I want to know. I want to challenge it. I want to challenge, you know, the amount of times a man can offend before he faces a custodial sentence. I want to challenge why there is not immediate remand for first time offenders and first time, you know, child groomers. Immediate remand, 6 months, take them straight off the street, and that gives you a full 6 months to properly forensically investigate these people and actually see who they really are. None of this court the next day and bailed to go and do it again, which occurs time and time again. I've caught repeat offenders. Guys have been caught 2 days apart. Guys have been caught the next day. They've been back online the day they've got out of court. They don't care. And no, it's not an illness, it's a choice. It's a choice, it's not an illness, it's a choice. So, and we can't clone ourselves. You know, I can't be like in 10 places at once. I really wish I could, because I could do some serious damage, but the problem's, it's just enormous. It's enormous. And then there's the other problem that nobody wants to talk about, another one of these cards that no one wants to discuss. When you've got huge influxes of young guys from countries with extremely low legal ages of consent, you know, like Iran, you know, Saudi Arabia for instance, well, there is no age of consent, but in some of the other countries it's 11. They bring that here and they act accordingly under their own country's statutes, which basically is also when they go to court, they want to be tried under the Sharia, you know, way, and basically a lot of the judges are treating it with kid gloves because culturally they are educated that 11 is the age of consent, and then they come and land in a Christian country where it's 16 and they don't recognise it as 16, so they actually don't, it's very easy to say they don't believe they're committing a crime. And I'm not being funny, but you know, we are way, way, way too easily fleeced when it comes to courts of law and senile old judges and the representation and the barristership that these guys are able to obtain, because they fight the case saying my client, you know, comes from this country, he's only been here 6 weeks, the age of consent's 11. So when you go through an asylum centre, one of the very first things that should be discussed is the legal age of consent in this country, and what's lawful and what's legal and what's right and what's wrong. And it isn't, it's not discussed. Why is it not discussed? Is it not important enough? Is it not important enough? That's why you've got 25-year-old men in relationships with 13-year-old girls in the UK in certain demographics, and they're looking the other way in these communities because it's acceptable under their cultural and religious beliefs. There, I've said it, and you know, folk will go, oh, you can't say that. Well, I just did, and I don't care, because I'm past caring. I'm past caring about finger wagging and opinion and walking in eggshells, and you can't say that. See this, you can't say it. Shut up. Honestly, shut up and get out of my road. I'm not interested. I'm not interested in appeasement and walking in eggshells. I'm interested in action. I'm an activist. I'm not a vigilante. I'm an activist. I'm involved in activism. And I absolutely despise walking in eggshells around child protection in this country, because culturally you're not allowed to upset someone or call out their behaviour. It's ridiculous and it's wrong. It's unacceptable. It will never be acceptable, and no one should be getting glossed over, and no one should be getting marginalised and criminalised for having an opinion. And a lot of you will know a guy that I'm probably thinking about when I'm talking about this. He's nationally known, you know, and there's a very, very stark picture being painted of him, but yet if you watch all the unedited dialogue, yeah, that's exactly who it is, Ebony. If you watch all the unedited dialogue and not the cleverly clipped and cap cut stuff, you'll actually see that it's a very intelligent point that's put over, and it's right, and it might rub people up the wrong way, but I'm afraid sometimes in life your feathers have to be ruffled if you want to get a response and you want to get a reaction. I say it quite often, and some of you will have heard me saying it. The only way to truly deal with a problem, you have to be bothered by it. You have to be really bothered by it. And I think I'll have proved beyond any reasonable doubt that I'm seriously bothered by what it is that I'm involved in. The exploitation of children in this country. It's diabolical, the level of it that it occurs at. And I'm seriously bothered by that, way more than I'm bothered about anything in my own private life, or the state of my own private life, or the fact that it's derailed my own private life and consumed my own private life. That's it. So I'm bothered that much by it that I'm prepared to go with the flow, and it has consumed me, and it does consume your mindset, and it is, you do think about it 80% of the day, you do, and it isn't healthy, and it's not normal, it's very toxic, it's damaging. Who wants to be around that all the time? I mean, I'm not surprised that nobody really wants to be around it, because you can't do it all the time, but it's so consuming, and it's so overwhelming, because when you go down the rabbit hole and you look and you see and you realise the scale, it's very hard to walk away. It's very, very hard to walk away. I mean, the cases in England that have literally gone by the wayside and just not had the publicity that it should have. It's unbelievable. It's terrifying. And all the deportation orders that were granted by courts, not one of them's been exercised. Not one of them's been fulfilled. These guys are all still running these communities. All these rapists. But you're not allowed to be a patriot these days. You're not allowed to be, you know, a proud Englishman or a proud Scotsman, or, you know, you're not allowed to walk that line. You know, everything's watered down now. You've got to be tolerant. You've got to be wearing a badge or waving a flag or saluting or acknowledging something, or, you know, this you know, behaviour of appeasement where you got to walk around everything and not shout too loud. I'm afraid that's not going to get the job done. Direct positive action is what gets the job done, and the wrong people are at the helm. They're spineless. God forbid if we were all called as a nation to a war again. It would be a disaster. It would be a real disaster, because, I don't know, 70% of people wouldn't turn up. You know, they would be away getting their teeth whitened or something, or I don't know. I just don't know. I really don't know. Hopefully we don't get roped into anything soon. It's a thought. We can't get the basics right in this country. We're not getting the basics right. And the way I see it is that they've had long enough with the power vacuum, right? They've held the power and they've held the reins for long enough. So is it not time that someone else get, like, entirely, I don't just mean changing the faces about and moving one another left and right into other positions. We need an entire new approach to the governance of this country. We need an entire new approach, and we need an entire new cabinet of people. This doesn't work. What we've been doing, our government does not work. It's a failed enterprise. It doesn't work under any way, shape or form. They can't convince us that they're getting anything right. Our national debt is incredible. Everything is wrong. Everything is broken. We have completely lost our identity, and we are in serious crisis. We're in serious crisis. So they've had a chance. They've made an astronomical ass of it, and it's time for a different approach. And that's it in a nutshell. It's time for a difference. Time for a different way, and a different approach altogether, be it a social uprising, be it, you know, we need to start building ourselves up again as a nation. We need our pride back, and I don't mean, you know, aligned to one thing or the other. I mean as a nation. I mean respecting everybody, regardless of what they believe in. You know, some people are for loyalism, unionists, and some people want separation. Just be respectful. As long as the greater thing is achieved, just be respectful and tolerant and say, right, that's fine. We don't agree on everything, but we do agree that this country is in a shit state, and we need to get somewhere near to a better state than the disaster that we're currently masquerading under. Because, I mean, it's diabolical what's going on. It's so bad. Unemployment, everything. Just the standard of employment that's available is diabolical. No wonder nobody wants to work £8, £9 an hour. No wonder nobody wants to go and commit to that. It's modern slavery. It's even in the past 3 years, it's become astronomically expensive to live. It's all wrong. But fundamentally, my major drive is the child welfare stuff. Over and above anything. Before I care about anything else, that is my fight. And it's a fight that I've entered into that battle voluntarily through choice. You could say I was drawn into it, you know, they drew fire from me, and now I'm fully engaged in it. And it's not going away anytime soon. You know, this isn't like going to be over in 6 months. I probably can foresee this being for the duration. Because it's massive. It's massive. It's too it's too big for me even to compact into an hour and a half video. I only scratch at it with these guys because really I should be talking about it in another platform, you know, and I should be talking about it publicly. But I'm currently being constrained because they fear the facts and they fear the truth. And I can prove that beyond any doubt that they do not want my information in the public domain. They don't. Sooner or later the right people are going to notice us, and the right people are going to say, what are they guys talking about? And they're going to go and look. And they're going to realise that we've done our homework. And they're going to realise that we're not afraid and that we're not scared of authority. Davy Mac. What, my Davy Mac for the pike fishing? And that's where I want to be. You know, that's where I want to be. Because if we can get the right people to notice and take notice of us and actually realise that we're legitimate and that we're educated on it and that we can articulate it and that we're not a bunch of savages, then our platform enters a different domain, you know, enters a different stratosphere, and we start to get recognised, and then they can't unnotice us. You know, we can't be unnoticed and we can't be unheard. How you doing, Albert? We can't be unheard. So if I keep everything above board and I get it right, I'm well, Albert, thanks for asking, then hopefully I'll get my opportunity to speak, because other people are getting their opportunity, other Glaswegians are getting their opportunities to be heard, and I want mine, because my subject matter is as equally as important as theirs. It's very important. And I know that it's not getting discussed for very good reason, because it's so fractured and it's so poorly administered that it's appallingly, you know, out of touch, and it's not fit for purpose. So they really don't want me to be heard. So I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep going, and I'll never ever be stopped. I'll never be stopped. Only when my clock stops will I stop. That's it. Because, you know, it's all a laugh and a joke for these clowns. They get paid regardless, and nothing changes, nothing gets better. And I really hate that. I really hate that you can be paid so well and live so lavishly, but you don't need to account for yourself. You don't have to account for what you've achieved year on year. No one's auditing these balloons. And that's it. That's how I feel, you know. And it just infuriates me, like seriously infuriates me. And by the way, if anybody's confused or I've lost yous a wee bit, because I do get a bit deep on it, apologies. What I'm talking about is that the laws of this land are completely and utterly unfit for purpose. And we've got a major problem with child offenders. And a major problem with it, with predation in children. We've got a major epidemic with predatory adults exploiting kids. And we live in an e-commerce world now. We live online. We're all online just now. Mappa is a joke. And, you know, this isn't going away, guys. The online is here to stay. So we have to get on top of it, and we have to police it correctly, and we have to have transparency in these apps and these platforms. A young guy in the past week or two has sent a message while flying to meet his mates somewhere abroad in a private Snapchat group chat, and he mentioned that he was going to blow the plane up, and he got intercepted by the FBI and stuff when he landed because it flagged. Right, the algorithm is the most intelligent invention. It's up there with the wheel and it's up there with fire, okay? It's way beyond our average comprehension. They know exactly who's online, when they're online, what they're viewing, who they're viewing it with, who they're engaging with, and every pro word that ever gets sent privately or in any other platform. Somebody somewhere knows, the algorithm knows, it's gigantic. It knows what every human being in the world is looking at in a shopping site, and then it bombards you with adverts to purchase globally. It's the most incredible thing I think human beings have come up with, the algorithm. It's just truly incredible. It's probably way beyond my understanding. But they know everybody that is online grooming. They know every paedophile, they know every exploitive app, they know every private inbox and private room chat where children are being groomed. They know it all, guys. And I don't care what anybody tells, you will never convince me that that market is not globally worth trillions of pounds and they want their slice of it. They do. They live in private islands, it doesn't affect them. Their children will never be predated on, they don't care. They're way beyond reproach, they're way beyond the reach of any predatory normal member of the public. They're way beyond that. They live in behind armed gated communities. They've got incredible levels of protection, and they've got literally SWAT team level security around about them, your Bezos, guys like that. Why would they care if your children were being predated on? They don't. And the market is globally gigantic. So the more people online, the more money that's getting made. They know a huge portion of the people on these apps and chat rooms and private are... 2 seconds to read something here. They know what's going on, but the app developers also know by dropping the safeguarding and dropping, you know, any form of realistic security checks. They know it's predators, and they know that it's young kids kidding on their 16, so they can go online because they want to be adults and all the rest of it, and they're literally putting them on a platter for predatory adults. And that's it in a nutshell. That's it in a nutshell. They know everything. They can tell you to the penny what you're earning and spending on a yearly basis. Within seconds of you even typing something into a phone, you're getting sales ads pinged to you. They know your every breathing, every waking thought, and they know what the predatory world's doing as well. And I've seen how chat rooms develop, and I've seen how chat logs develop, and I've seen how predators access your children's bedrooms and their phones, and I've seen how they guide them from a friend's request within 15 minutes to having them boxed in, sending explicit images because they've guilt tripped them or they've tricked them. We call it phishing. I won't elaborate too much, and it's also very triggering, but I see it. I see it on a daily basis. This is what we do, and I see it with my own eyes, and I see the predators, and I can literally tell when a chat's going to turn. I know when a chat's going to turn, and I can identify the very moment in the chat where it turned. And to the normal untrained eye, you might miss it, but I know what it is. I know where it goes south, and I know all their trickery, and I know all their, I know all the methods that they use, and some of them are highly devious. They're very articulate, they're very intelligent, and they're good at what they do. They're good at what they do, and they're very evasive as well. Some of them, and then you get the long groomers. Chat can go on for 5 months, and boom, it just turns, just like that. So, it's a learned skill. You're either into it or you're not, and you're either good at it or you're not. I don't think doing what I do, I don't think it can be taught. I don't. You've either got it or you've not. To suss these people out and get to them quickly, and that's it. Cheers, Graham. That's my take on it. And even decoying, I don't believe that it can be truly taught. The best decoys are au naturel at it. Same with the investigative side, our intelligence gatherers or researchers. That is a mega skill set in itself, and you can have guidance and education on it, and you can help and assist, but the real intuitive people are the best at it. That again is natural. We've all got our unique strengths, and without one another it doesn't work. The team doesn't work. I can't go and light anyone up without my team. Doesn't work. Can't be done. You would fail. You would get there eventually, but the time involved doing it yourself would be astronomical, and it would be, logistically, it would be stupid to try and be an absolute, lone wolf, soloist. Nah, doesn't work. Because you're on the move, and people are pinging you info on the go and all the rest of it, So, yeah. Anyway. YouTube's not liking my content, guys. It's hammering me. And it's turning my videos off and stuff, so I don't care. If I get a few people on my lives, 20, 30 people, we've had 60 odd people every night, so that's better, isn't it? That's good. I'm happy with it. It's the same people. The crack's good. These are very appreciated, but I'm not on Rumble, Mrs. Sancho, because I've been asked to go on Rumble. I did go on Holden's channel and we discussed some stuff, but I'll be honest with you, Tommy Robinson's in Rumble and a few other people, and I speak to them, and it's crap. It's a crap platform. Usability, it's not in the big domain, right? And YouTube and Facebook are the big platforms. It's just that they're so bad at shadow banning. They hate the truth, they hate truth speakers, and they hate anyone that goes against the system and the authority. And unfortunately, platforms like Rumble have just not got the momentum. They're not that user friendly. See, for people, most folk are technophobes like me, it's got to be 2 clicks, boom boom and you're in, boom boom and you're on, click and play. Rumble, there's all these stages you've got to go through, it's a pain in the arse. I tried it, didn't like it, it wasn't user friendly. It might be less restricted, but see, ultimately they all restrict you. I've been told that my band's now up on Twitter, I can go back there, it's now Elon Musk, it's called X or something. It's full of woke crackpots. There's loads of platforms building up, but ultimately most people are on YouTube. YouTube's got billions of people on it. I just need to keep persevering. I don't swear, I don't do anything that's that bad, I don't think. So I just think that when you mention certain pro words, the algorithm just hammers you. That's what I'm talking about. It knows exactly what we are talking about. You can call it the this or the that, or you can do even doing signals that it still seems to pick it up from the comments section. So I don't know. I don't know where the future lies with the online stuff. I know that standing in Glasgow and campaigning and stuff, I also know that that's very limited. But you've just got to keep chipping away. I'm a true believer in chipping away. It's basic geology, isn't it? Time and pressure. And just keep chipping. That's it. Hammer and chisel. Time and pressure. I don't expect anything big overnight because I'm not that stupid for a start. So aye, we'll just persevere. We'll just keep going and see what occurs. Minto's asking how successful, so we've got like a dozen going on now, and we've been really successful getting them put down. We just got Mark Brady 3 years, 10-year sexual harm prevention order, 10-year in the register, and a lifetime restriction order around children, where even if it's his own kids, he'll never be allowed unaccompanied round anyone under 16 again. So his other stuff in his phone that we couldn't get must have been pretty vile. There's a lot more to him. So yeah, we've done well. We are successful, Minto, and a lot of the teams are. The big, like Fleetwood, very successful getting them put down. Very, very successful. All the teams do great work. Yeah, we don't all see eye to eye. I don't involve myself with any other teams other than Fleetwood, really. And Cope and Northern Ireland, that's it. But all the teams do great work, They do great work. They don't all do it the way I do it, and they might not like the way I go about my business. It's a matter of opinion, but ultimately we're all out for the same thing. There's a lot of ego involved at times, and maybe some people are not here for the right reasons, but that's just, I don't care. I don't have that much of an opinion of what anyone's doing. I just wish them well. At the end of the day, they're volunteers, and if they can light somebody up, then they're making a difference. So that's it. I get my critics. I get stick for people that don't know me. They seem to have strong opinions of me. Some of these people I've never even heard of, but they've got big opinions of me apparently, and who cares? Cheers, Moll. I just wish folk would, Use that energy that you're firing at me and use it for what you're doing in your day, and you'll get on a lot better. I don't put my nose in people's business because I'm not interested. Right, well, that's that. That's me for the night. Somebody asking what this is. This is just a wee wooden cabin. Tinkerbell. It's a wee cabin. It's just a wee log cabin, wee wooden cabin. 3 metres before or something. 3 by 4.5, something like that. Right guys, that'll do me for the night. I'm going to go. My brain's now scrambled. That's what it does to you. It just goes. Right, I'm going to go and get a proper hot cup of tea. Thanks for your time. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the support. Thanks for the feedback, the comments. I appreciate it all. I appreciate the fact that you tune in and listen. If you didn't tune in and join in and contribute, then this would be pointless. So I'm grateful, very, very grateful. More than you might know. Quickly before I go, I'm always asking, or Henry's asking, why are the police so bad at it? So I'll quickly tell you. They are completely bound by bureaucracy and red tape, and also it is a very difficult type of crime to criminalise. And modern policing is all about revenue collection, so you'll find most officers are out on road traffic. Road traffic is where they're all out on, it's where all the manpower is, and they just don't view this seriously enough, so they don't invest manpower in it. And I'm sorry, you know, money talks and the police require profit because, you know, like any other company, they're a corporation and they need a profit and loss. They work in profit and loss. And people might not like that, but it's the truth. I'm not having a go at beat cops because they don't make the rules up, but they also don't help by not challenging it. And their superiors are super corrupt. And it is all about money, and it is all about fines and easily acquired revenues, stealth taxes, speeding fines, vehicle excise, anything to do with vehicles can be monetised. And that's it. That's it in a nutshell. Then, on top of that, you've got the CPS, and in Scotland you've got, you know, the Procurator Fiscal, the judiciary. The Crown Prosecution Services are diabolical. They are continually knocking back cases with low evidential value when the minute you engage with a child and that's proven to be your number, should be a stone waller, but it's not, and it very rarely is. That's why we have got to have a really strong evidential pack at hand, ready at point of arrest. Some of the police forces in England won't even entertain you if you don't have it to hand. We've got a key fob, a stick in it as well, with everything downloaded, ready to go. We buy them in bulk, we buy 100 of them at a time, and they go in every pack, and you're just like that with them. You know, we do all of that. It's all done by us. It's massively time consuming, and it's a huge workload and a burden for anybody. The lead decoys do it, you know, and it's like, it's mega work. It's mega work. All the screenshots, every single screenshot's got to be recorded. The friends request is the beginning of your evidence pack, every single bit of it. You can't have gaps in it, because at any point if you've led the conversation or you've, you know, it goes in the bin, the CPS will just knock it back and they get a pass. There's a lot more to this, guys, than I can tell you in a video, and I can't divulge too much anyway because it's trade secrets. But it's mega. There's so much work involved in it, and it's all voluntary. our biggest problem would be, my biggest gripe would be the CPS. They're a bunch of clowns. Failed enterprise. Like Mappa. You know? It's not entrapment. It will never be entrapment. I understand your connotations, Flash, but we don't do entrapment, you know, and entrapment's not actually a thing in the UK. That's a real, unfortunately, that's a real common misconception with people. You know, there will never be entrapment. No, Henry, I'm not a registered charity. No, I thought about going down that road, but you know, people were like saying stupid things about it and stuff. You know, nah. I'm avoiding charities. I just don't want to be part of them. Don't like it. So yeah, the CPS are a failed enterprise, and again they're not fit for purpose. You know, they really are not fit for purpose. It will never be funded because our biggest cost is fuel. Our biggest cost is people's time. And it's just volunteer stuff, you know. There's costs, you buy stuff, you might need a laptop, you might need a printer, you might need paper. It's not a lot, but it adds up depending on how busy you are. So, you know, it is what it is, guys. It's nobody's forcing us to do it, it's a choice. And I like to think that you know, Spartan's done well, and they'll stand the test of time. Yeah, things come and go, people come and go, teams change, you know, fallouts occur. It's a stressful environment, but I'm not going anywhere. I'm definitely not going anywhere. You know, I founded Spartan, and you know, it means a lot to me. It means an awful lot to me. You know, I'm gonna get these hoodies made up. I might sell some hoodies. That's the back of them there. You know, and that's the front of them there. So I might do something like that. I might sell some hoodies, some beanies or something. I don't know. I might, and I might not, because there's more important stuff, you know, than designing hoodies. But I might get somebody to help me with it, and that's something I might do. They're good quality as well. They're proper hoodies. They're not like crap ones. They wash really nice, and they're thick and warm. You know, they're not like cheap, crappy ones. But that's another day. Flash, you want to get in touch with me? Yeah, you can reach out to me, mate, no problem. I'm pretty responsive. If you drop me a message into the inbox, Spartan Child Protection Team on Facebook, I'll pick the message up. It'll get picked up, you'll get a response. I'm on Instagram as well, AC Shine a Light, AC_Shine a Light. And I'm on TikTok, but I don't really know how to work TikTok, so probably get me on Facebook. Or if you know anybody that knows me, you'll get my number, but I don't give my number out randomly. Anyway, there we go. Right, I hope that clarified a few things. So I will get off now. How long have we been on? 95 minutes, bloody hell, man. I do have an email, Flash, but I can't say it out loud because you don't know who's in the chat, and I don't want my email spammed. Let me think. Spartan. On the Spartan page, there is an email on the Spartan page. If you drop me an email there, Flash, I'll pick it up. The skateboard t-shirt, Mint was asking. Vision Streetwear. That's an 80s classic. If you know anything about skateboarding or Tony Hawk or Rodney Mullen, you'll know about that. Vision Streetwear. It's a retro classic. Yeah, drop an email to the Spartan email and I'll pick it up. I can't give my personal email out because I don't want it spammed. There was a troll in the chat last night, a nasty person, leaving some nasty comments. Powell Peralta. I've still got a Powell Peralta deck. Bones Brigade. Gullwing. Toxic Poison. Right guys, it's been a blast, but we better not start talking about skateboarders like Rodney Mullen, who's one of my all-time idols, because we'll end up doing what we done last night, which was talking about Pink Floyd and music. And then last night I was away, I was thinking about the Bangles, and I was thinking about this band and that band, and you know, I was like, right, thanks for joining in guys, I appreciate it. Yeah, me Charlie gets a troll, a bloody idiot, I know. David, cheers for keeping an eye on that, mate, appreciate it. They're just idiots, aren't they? I mean, I couldn't care less about these clowns. I love the Bangles as well. But I'll tell you one thing about trolls, guys, alright? No troll will ever stand in my toes. No troll will ever come up to my face. No chance. Won't happen. There's no chance. And I don't care. It won't ever happen. Because I know what trolls are. They're cowards by nature. Hiding behind keyboards. They're welcome to try, aren't they? Right dudes, night night everybody. Okay, stay steady striving, you know the drill. Take it easy.